Please like, comment, and subscribe.
Hi IKYA, this is Annette from Norway, and I have a question to you about love. Because in all religions, traditions and spiritual practices, they talk about love as if it is something we all understand exactly what is, and yet it's so clear that we mean so many different things about it. So could you clarify what love truly is and what it means in our spiritual development? Thank you.
In all cultures, humans have not only discovered love, but seen it as the core, the center, what is more important than anything else. And there are many different versions of love, many different understandings, but they've all been pulling in the same direction. And it seems that humans have always had somewhat of an understanding of what it is. So I will try to explain also what it means from a more spiritual perspective. When we look at it from higher consciousness, when we look at humans, the human love is more a matter of feeling a connection, feeling a togetherness. And it's very much a combination of chemicals that is supposed to trigger you to care and to take care of. To survive, you need others. That's been the success factor number one. It's collaboration. So love is recognizing that you belong with someone or a group. You care and you're willing to stretch for them so they can survive and you can survive with them. And you feel more for them. You feel more empathy. You feel that you're willing sometimes to die for them and to do whatever. And it's first of all a recognition that I need these people or this person to live, to survive, to achieve what I want to do in life. So that's the most basic form of love. It is attachment. Recognizing that, yeah, this individual is beneficial for me. So I will create these chemicals of attachment. So I can create the story that we are important to each other. So you have that instant connection between child and parents. That is the survival love. But then we have other forms of love as well. People can say like, I love cake. And it's basically the same type of love. You identify things you like, and then you have things you really like and things you like very, very much. And that means that you love them because you have decided that I need these things to survive. I want these things to survive because they tell me something about myself. It can be things, habits, places that tell the world a story about you so that you look better to the world than you actually are. You know? Anything that can assist you in portraying a beneficial story about yourself, you will love. It's that attraction because you're supposed to attach yourself to things, manifestation, people that can help you in climbing the ladder, the hierarchy of life. That's still a form of love. You get those attachment chemicals in your brain. So human love is all about attachment in different ways. And that is fine. We can say it's a selfish love, it's a survival love, but it's still one form of love. You can also feel that selfish love with a pet. You create the story that this animal loves you and just you, so you feel important. So you attach yourself because you want to feel a certain way about yourself. But in the process, you can learn that, oh, you can also love. It's not just selfish. Love opens the heart. And we want to give. In the beginning, it's all about the exchange. I scratch your back, you scratch mine. And if it works, we will basically attach to each other because then we know that we can assist each other. But in the process of opening our hearts, it's more than that. We learn that love is something in itself. That love is a consciousness. It's intention, it's a state of mind, but it can also be the goal itself. And gradually we move from this selfish love into love that is more giving. Because you realize that the state of love is where you want to be. In all spiritual work, religious work around the world, one has discovered that being in a state of love changes everything. And the interesting thing about the survival love is about attachment. The more spiritual love, and why it's defined as spiritual, it's because it's actually the opposite. It's where you fill your heart to the level where it sets everyone free. It detaches you. And why is that? Chemically, when you are in a state of love, it helps you realize that you have what you need. You get the signals that you will survive now, you're safe, your needs are met, everything is okay. And that's the chemical signals that will make us feel safe, full, that life is rich, it's abundant, it's safe, it's everything we want it to be. When we move into a higher state of consciousness, and we learn that this is a state I can move into, it means that you go beyond your needs. Because being a person throughout history has been fulfilling your needs. Getting food, shelter, sex, thirsty, self-medication, all of these things, all about needs. And the lack of your needs being met and trying to figure out how to get them met. Love, as a chemical mix, when you learn to move into that state, your brain relaxes and say, all my needs have been met. There's nothing to gain. So you stop fighting. You stop being possessive. You stop trying to control things. Because when your needs are already met, there's nothing more to do. So you let other people be, and you move into a state of abundance. This is all happening in your brain. And then you realize that, oh, right, my needs are not that important. But I can see that this person is struggling. How can I give? How can I be of assistance? And it's part of what humans have learned throughout evolution that when you have enough to eat, you share. That's smart. You're not giving it away, you are investing. So we're kind of chemically wired, in a way, wired to produce chemicals, to share. when we have enough, it will trigger empathy and we want to give. This is also why humans have survived in groups, how we have been able to collaborate and take care of each other, because we care. But in spiritual work and religious work, everyone has come across this almost like brain hack that when we focus on love, when we focus on going beyond the self, all of a sudden, we have no needs. Everything has been met. We're in this state of fullness. And we realize, I don't care so much about things. I don't care so much about getting this or that. And I can look at the conflict I was in and I don't even understand why I was fighting anymore. Because you have all you need. And even though you might not materially have everything you need, you move into a state where your chemicals tell you that you have everything you need. And when you learn this as a technique and you let yourself be filled with this energy, over time it becomes permanent. And you become a more giving, generous, empathetic person. And becomes more about others than yourself. So it's using those genetic programmings, saying that when you have enough to eat, you give other people, your food because you don't need it anymore. It becomes a way of living. And this is always, when you look at different spiritual practices and tradition, this has always been looked at as a goal in itself, to reach that state. Because you know that when you reach that state of fullness, it's easier to control the mind or let go of the mind. Because the ego is, first of all, a complex trying to manage all your needs. Right? And blaming yourself and blaming the world and fighting, all of that. So when you're in the state of love, the ego relaxes. And then you could focus on something higher because you don't have all that noise. You don't have all that pain. You don't have all those stories of suffering. It's a state, as it were, all your needs have been met. And that brings joy, that brings happiness. And then you learn that, it's like a switch. I can just switch it on. And that switch is your heart. In all traditions, working with the heart and opening the heart and filling yourself with love and having a spiritual heart that pulsates love and that gives love and that breathes love. It's the foundational practice. I would say it's always the foundation of any spiritual practice. Because once you truly open your heart spiritually, the rest is easy. You will not be fighting anymore. Your value system changes. And you discover that the more you fill your heart, the more you expand. And you see that to truly expand, you need to go beyond the self. And the self, the ego, is just a complex of needs and stories. And you say, what's beyond? And you start realizing that you are more than the self. In a state of love, you are abundance. You can go beyond the thought and idea of the individual. Because once you're not fighting to contain and maintain the self and the body, you can expand beyond that. And then you discover that, I am part of life. I'm not separate. I'm not an individual even. That's a lower state. So I'm individual. I'm also part of nature. I can be part of oneness. So love is that energy. It starts with the chemicals in the human body and becomes this pathway, this energy, this consciousness, and it lifts you higher and higher and into different forms of consciousness beyond the self. And then, what is love? When it's not really connected to the individual anymore, and when it's a force, a flow, that is not even chemicals anymore, what is it? I often describe it as a state of complete unconditional acceptance. It's a state where there is nothing to do, nothing to express, because you have no will, no need, no want, no anything. And all you want to do is surrender to life. Because when you fill yourself with love to that level, there is no self anymore, because there are no needs. Get it? And you can just continue to expand. And because you have no agenda anymore, you can look at other people and just love them. Not because of, not in spite of. There is nothing to do. You realize that the essence of life itself is love. And you can just be in it. And you don't ever want to move out of it. And you just want to give. You just want that flow to flow through. You want it to be you. And you just continue to expand. And you realize that it's the isness itself. It is the oneness. And you can still use the word love, but it's something completely different. But the understanding of love, the experience of love, is still the gateway. It's still how you reach higher levels of consciousness. But your understanding of love will transform many, many times. But the pathway will still be there. So when you are in higher levels of consciousness and higher levels of love, that will still be translated into what you can feel and experience in your heart. It will still change how you operate as a person. Your intentions, your expressions, your plans, what you do, how you behave as a person. And you learn to be present to yourself, to others, because there is no agenda anymore. There is nothing to be achieved, because you are in this space, this consciousness where everything has already been achieved. And all there is left is expansion. All there is left is being in this exchange where the result is more love, more growth, more healing. But it's not about you anymore. It's about life expanding itself, loving itself, where you are part of it. So, for all spiritual students that are sincere, love is the most important principle one can study. It's the most important practice. And I always say it doesn't matter what type of love you experience. All love will lead you on the path and will eventually transform into a higher form of love. It will expand you. So love as much as you can, whoever you can love. And understand that true love is unconditional. You start out with conditional love, which is what we talked about in the beginning. But at some point, you understand that love, in its true version, is unconditional. And when you have that realization, it's just a flow that never stops. You never try to control it. You don't lead it. You don't do anything with it. It's just there. And you start observing how it works through you and what it does. And you realize that also that I am not doing this. It's love, it's spirit. I am just the vehicle. And I am blessed for the opportunity to take part in this. And when love is unconditional, it will nurture everyone. It will assist everyone in growing and healing. Because it's not filtered through us as individuals. Becoming a vehicle for love is at the core of every spiritual path or teaching. And you end up in service. I've talked about this many times before, but spiritual service is the only true spiritual path. Doesn't matter what religion, what tradition, what practice you start out with, at some point, it will all be about service and love. And that's the true spiritual path. That's the highway. And once you're there, you don't care how you got there. All there's left is breathing and being and doing love. And that is, in essence, what service is. Becoming a true vehicle for the universal, unconditional love. That's the natural state of you as soul or Atma. It is the healed state of your consciousness. It is the natural point zero of everything. So yes, practice love in whatever way you can. There is no right way, no wrong way. As long as you associate it with love somehow, it will lead you on the path. Love will lift you. Love will heal you. And love will transform you into a divine vehicle.